Yeah,
Yeah, there's a big Montreal Comedians Festival. Mm-hmm. And I got I don't know if you remember this, Scott. I was so excited. I got tickets to one of the shows, and I didn't realize the whole thing was in French. I was like, I'm like, man, these punchlines really aren't hitting home to me.
I just have to just see you guys sitting there in a French comic show, being like, ha ha ha, ha 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 ha.
As it's a comedy, Americans were like, what?
I don't know. It depends. Yeah.
For me, being from the, we all came from the same place. We're all friends, but you guys are able to, like, you live and you work in the same city. Well, pre-corona, and you're together all the time. And it's one of the things I've been so jealous of is all the adventures that you guys go on together. And it's been I sort of live vicariously sometimes through you guys. It's a bit like watching The Hangover sometimes, but
yeah,
Vegas,
a little bit like
Ireland, or whatever the hell you guys are doing. So
yeah, it's a little bit like living The Hangover.
But yeah, Mike, you're right. The three of us. Are we fraternity brothers? The three of us. I can't even remember the weird fraternity that we were in.
Mu Phi Epsilon. Mu Phi Epsilon, baby.
And the subset of Studio 54. I mean, that was even more elite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Feed the fear.
Yeah, that's nuts. It's been 20 Mike, I've known you for 26 years.
Yeah.
And Nathan for 22.
Mm-hmm. That's hard to say about anybody in this business.
That's a long time. I know.
Yeah.
I mean, we are middle-aged now, so.
Whoa, now. Whoa. That's assuming I live to 90, and we all know that's not happening.
That's assuming I live through the night.
Yeah, middle-aged when I was like 25.
Well, can you guys tell us, I mean, because this is primarily a Dallas opera thing, so they may not know exactly, have the backstory of your stories, your connection to the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex and where you're working now. So can you kind of just fill us in on what's happened in the past 22, 26 years?
Well, I'll start and say, I'm talking, Scott. Thank you.
Oh, sorry. And end of friendship.
Starting already.
Oh, I thought this was a debate. Okay, sorry. So at UNT, when I got to UNT, and I think it was in 1998, Scott had been on a choir trip and actually recruited me down in South Texas. Yeah. Mel Ivey was the choral director. And so Scott and I were at the University of North Texas, well, obviously with you too, Mike.
Yeah.
And you guys were there before me. But I remember getting there, and I noticed Scott and Mike, you guys are, in my viewpoint, I was like, oh, hey, they're doing the solo roles. So I said, hey, how do I audition for this to be out front? And Scott says, oh, you got to audition with an aria. And I remember asking him, I was like, what the hell is that? I had no idea. So even from early on, he kind of took me under his wing and was like, yeah, it's, so explaining what an aria is and this and that. But
it's an opera song.
It's an opera song.
I had just learned that like a year earlier.
Same. I think my first opera recording was a Three Tenors concert from Dodger Stadium. So that was my first opera recording.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
For sure. Yeah.
Well, no one in my family has ever known anything about opera or the Metropolitan Opera. Some old lady at my grandmother's church in Memphis, Tennessee, asked me, how do you like singing at the baseball games in New York? Because she thought I sang for the Mets. And I was just like, oh, my gosh. But you just roll with it. I'm like, yeah, I like the national anthem gets a little old, but, sometime in the seventh inning stretch, we do something special. So it's great.
Yeah.
That's nice.
No, I like that. We either sing for the Mets or at the Met Museum. No one ever thinks about the opera.
Yeah.
Like, what do you do for a living? Oh, an opera singer. Where do you sing? At the Met. Oh, you in the museum? You just stand by the pictures when people sing by the pictures? Yeah.
The insurance company? What is it? The Metropolitan Life? What is?
Yeah, there it is.
But
you're in good hands.
Oh. Mike, when I left UNT in 2003, and I went into the Air Force. I was in active duty Air Force for 5 years in Washington, D.C.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you. I was singing with the singing sergeants. And so during that time, I mean, I sent Scott a few messages at that time, I guess was MySpace. MySpace Reunion.com. We nailed it. We nailed it. And
I thought it was Tom. I didn't know who it was.
And, dude, I mean, but then it wasn't until I came to the Met, and I'm in the cafeteria at the Met, and I had just gotten a part-time contract, and I'm sitting there in the cafeteria, and we literally run into each other. I'm like, whoa, how's it going? And then at that time, I'm always wheeling and dealing.
What?
So I had secured I had two bedrooms in this 3-bedroom apartment on 83rd, and this woman from the Dominican Republic, Rosario, she was renting it to me for like $800 for both rooms.
This is my favorite.
It's Crazario.
So
Crazario, not Rosario.
In any music, if you're a singer or a dancer or an actor or whatever, many times you find unique places to stay. And in my case, I always went with unique but also very low cost. So I remember contacting Scott. I was like, listen, why don't you take this second bedroom that I've got? It's $400 a month. He's like, what? So he comes and looks at it on 83rd between Amsterdam and Columbus. I was like, the only thing is there is this Dominican woman that lives in the back, but she's never home. And in my case, she was never home. But as soon as Scott moved in, that woman would not leave him alone and just talk.
Yeah.
Where are you going? But the most amazing thing was she had a no girl policy. So I couldn't have any girls come and stay the night. But Scott can be like, well, I got some of my buddies coming over to play video games. I'm like, this is such crap.
Yeah, we're just hanging out watching some sports.
Yeah, just play a little Xbox.
So if a girl wanted to come over and hang out late at night, I had to tell her, like, well, do you have like a costume or something where you like the phone repair person or something? But it never really worked out.
That's so good. The Rosario stories, man. Or Rosaria?
Oh man, Crazario. It's Crazario.
Crazario.
That's all it is. I mean,
so
she was something. Person... I mean, like Nathan said, he told me the sales pitch was from my best friend, the used car salesman, was she's never there, man. She's never there. She lives in New Jersey with her daughter, the duplex out there. So we have it all to ourselves. I was like, wow, man, that's awesome.
Bachelor pad.
I don't think there was one day that I was in that apartment that she wasn't there. And not only was she there all the time, but like she wouldn't leave me alone. And she even made me, I had to create her Match.com profile. She called me one day and she was like, hey, Scott, you know how to do the match? And I was like, what? Do you want to start a fire? What are you doing?
Instructions are right on the side of the box, man.
Oh, yeah. So I remember sitting down making her Match.com profile, and I was like, well, you're going to need a picture. I don't know what you want to do. And she goes, here. And she handed me her work ID, which I then took a phone screenshot of and used her.
With your flip phone.
The razor.
With my, yeah, with my Nokia 3500.
But I remember the next people, we got out of there, and Scott, I think I moved your stuff out of there because you were just like, I'm done. And I think you were singing in, that's when you went over to London. I think you were in London. And so then Scott and I found this 2-bedroom, which I'm sitting in now. And I've been his roommate in this apartment like 3 or 4 different times.
Yeah, we've all been each other's roommates at different times.
Right.
Yes. Past 26 years.
To put the ribbon on that last Crazario story, the next people that moved in were friends of another singer friend. I was like, oh yeah, it's cheap. They'll love it. And I just said, that's all I said. And like 6 months later, I saw the guy, and he's like, dude. I was like, what? He goes, man, she came at us with a knife one night. We had to get out of there. I was like,
Nathan, how many stories do you have in your life that end with, yeah, I didn't really give them the whole story. They came at me 6 months later with a lawsuit.
Just imagine this. I'm talking to both you guys right now. Nathan Carlisle, I've lived at your agent's office.
Yeah.
for like a year.
That is true.
Remember?
That is true.
I mean, yeah, I would talk to singers, and I was like, oh, do you know Anna de la Chalette? They're like, yeah. I was like, I rent a bedroom at the office there. They're like, what?
What? What kind of weird agency is this?
Best $500 a month that I've ever spent.
Yeah, it was a great apartment. Good location.
Yeah, that was a good apartment.
Mike, you stayed there with me sometimes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, with Pete.
Megan and I first, got together at that apartment.
Oh. Wow, I didn't know that.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So it's really so many beginnings and endings in that place.
Wow, as Borat would say, "Wowie woo woo."
What is that? What he says?
I don't know.
Wait,
as Borat would say, "Scooby Dooby Doo."
So we've all lived, because I stayed there. Man, we are incestuous. I stayed there a couple times when I didn't live in New York and was coming up to do auditions.
Oh yeah,
I didn't realize we had all slept at the office at some point.
Yeah,
that's awesome. I love it. That's a full service agency right there.
Yeah,
I don't care who you
right.
say. I don't care what you do.
Housing,
right?
Housing,
pet sitting. It's just great.
Yeah.
But you, Mike, I wish you could have been a fly on the wall on some of not only rehearsals at the Met, but also performances. Sometimes, obviously I've been in, almost every show that Scott has soloed in at the Met. I've been in because I'm his glorified backup singer.
I can always.
No, wait. I know where this is going, and I'm telling this.
Okay,
This is my story to tell.
Okay.
Fair enough.
I know where this is going, and this is mine.
All right,
This is mine. You got Crazario. This is mine. So, like Nathan said, he is in every show pretty much. So he's always in the show.
Always at the front of the stage. That's what I like.
Oh yeah, well here's where we're going.
Front.
Here's where we're going. Actually, the first time I noticed it happening was in Traviata. Well, the production we did with the Red Couch, the Billy Decker production, and I mean we had done it. It's Traviata, so and it's the Met, so we had done it like 15 performances of it that season or whatever. And then so it's the very beginning, right before the Libiamo, and I'm going over to Alfredo to sing, and then all of a sudden I have this hand on my shoulder, and I mean we've done so many performances of it. I was like, "What's happening?" So, I'm singing, and all of a sudden there's a hand on my shoulder, and I kind of look over, and it's Nathan, and he's looking straight out at the audience, with his hand on my shoulder. So I'm like, oh, that's weird. Anyway, so I kind of let it go. Didn't think much about it. And then I asked later, he was like, oh yeah, man, I have my mom and my grandmother and a friend of mine in the audience. And I wanted them to see me. So I just went out. I was like, oh, okay, that's awesome.
Perfect.
And so now it's kind of a tradition that at some point during a show, he will make his way over to me and put his arm around my shoulder, if at all possible.
I remember a rehearsal for the new Traviata.
This is Tosca, man. I'm Borsa. Leave me the fuck alone. I'm talking to Scoppy right now.
I'm just in the rehearsal. I'm walking over to him, and he just he turns.
I don't hear anyone anymore.
Uh-oh.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah,
Okay,
I got you back.
We're in this rehearsal, and he just turns and he sees me walking, and he just out loud goes, "No."
Yeah.
Have you ever talked on this program on The Quick? Have you ever talked about, and you might have already talked about this, but I remember you traveling around in your truck.
Oh, yeah.
And that camper in the back, and you had a board that separated the bottom from the top, and you'd sleep on one, and they had your stuff. I mean, I thought that was
for anyone who thinks that opera, and we're one of the things we do on this show is sort of disabuse people of some of these notions that they have about what we do. And I was homeless for 4 or 5 years in my 30s, after my divorce and all that stuff. So yeah, I had a pickup truck with a bed in the back with a
I remember.
Yeah,
I remember very well.
All the stuff underneath, and Pete and I it always just smelled like an old dog and stale Fritos. I mean, it was just terrible.
And that was you. Pete
and that was
great.
just me. It wasn't even the dog.
Pete always smelled great.
Yeah. So tell me some of these about some of your enlighten our audience about some of your adventures that you guys have had together, because I know that's what everybody wants to hear anyway. Enough of this industry bullshit. Let's get into some good stories.
I'll let Scott talk about Ireland, but I'm an interesting guy.
If I may say so myself.
4 years.
Understatement of the year.
Like a couple of years living here in New York, I had met some people, Alfred and Anchi Kohler, at a Presbyterian church over on the East Side. And one day, I would go to have Thanksgiving dinner with them and Easter lunch and all this stuff. One day they called me over and they'd like to talk to me. And they said, we're moving to Berlin. We'd like to give you our sailboat. And I said, what? I don't even know how to sail. But because I'm from Corpus Christi, which is a big sailing town.
Only happens in Carlisle. This kind of shit. It's amazing.
Now, when they did ask me, if someone's going to give you a free sailboat and they ask you, do you know how to sail? The answer is always yes.
Oh, of course.
I've done over about 1,100 nautical miles in the Eastern Quadrant. So anyways, I learned how to sail on this boat it's out in Amityville. And I'm coming home and telling Scott these stories like, oh man, sorry I'm late. I ran aground and I hit this this reef, and I had to call in such and such and this and that. And then a week later, I'd be like, hey man, you want to go sailing? And he's like, no, I don't.
Good.
But yeah. I always had this sailboat. Now he finally went.
I waited until you came home twice in a row without a story of you either having to jump off the boat or get the boat towed or going out in some storm, Yeah. I mean, so I waited until you were 2 in a row, and then I was like, all right, okay. All right, I'll go now.
I just have this image of Lieutenant Dan and Forrest Gump in the hurricane. That's kind of what I thought.
That's it.
You guys doing.
That's it.
Well, I like to think of Master and Commander, but sure, Forrest Gump and yeah, I mean, that's fine. Whatever you wanted to do.
No, but we had some good times out on the boat, and that was always great having a sailboat here close to the city. Now I've since moved it down to where I am and close to the farm in Mississippi because it's like a third of the price and actually so much nicer of a place.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was fun. Going from getting out of a rehearsal at 3:00 and hitting the water. It's just so peaceful. It's incredible to be out there.
What's funny, Mike, this is the same with you. I mean, you get to know, people for so long, and you get to know their family, their, everything. And so, I mean, like your mom and dad, I've known for such a long time, and great. Nathan's family, I mean, I'm technically engaged to his grandmother. I mean, I don't know if that's still a deal. I haven't talked to her in a few months.
Get that working because I want Nathan to have to call you grandpa.
Oh, yeah. I know. That's the only, yeah.
I'll make like a peepaw or some sort of
peepaw. Yeah.
Pop.
Peepaw.
Hey, pop. Can you throw some change in the pool so I can go get it?
Yeah. So I mean, but like so I mean, I've been to his grandmother's house when she lived at Memphis, and I've been to his mom's house, and this and that and that. And he's been here and all the places my family's lived and my brother's house and but 2 years ago, I think it is. I'm thinking it's 2. My family was taking a cruise on Royal Caribbean, and it was my whole family, like mom and dad and brother and sister and husbands and wives and everything, kids. And we're, scheduling the cruise or whatever. And long story short, Nathan shows up on the cruise. He books the cruise. So he's on it with it. So which was great. I mean, my whole family was all super excited about it. So, but it's just that kind of deal. Like,
was it a surprise?
He shows up.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be.
Well, I was in, I went to, a very good friend of a colleague of mine, Dustin Lucas, was going to Vegas for March Madness, but I couldn't go because I had a rehearsal on like a Friday at 10 a.m. So I told Dustin I can't go, and his wife was like, "Oh, he's there by himself. That sucks." Da, da, da. So what I do is, I did have Thursday off, but I had to be back Friday. So 6 a.m. I fly to Vegas, okay, on a Thursday, and I go to Dustin's room at 9 a.m. I was like, "I'm here. Let's party." And so we party for the whole day. And during that day, I find out that Scott's brother is actually at the same hotel I'm at. And I said, "Hey,
in Vegas."
Yeah. Let's meet for a drink. We meet for a drink. He tells me about the cruise. And I was like, oh, I'll surprise Scott for his birthday or something. And I'm going to book the cruise. And so I did.
Happy birthday. It's me.
Yeah.
You're stuck with me on a boat, but because Scott is so fancy, he
No.
yeah.
No.
He changed.
Now we're
He's,
getting into it.
he's trying to upgrade. He's trying to upgrade the restaurant, all this stuff, and that's how it happened.
No.
And then he saw my name. The guy was like, "Would you like to also upgrade Mr. Carlisle?"
Yeah. Okay, first of all, that's not true. I, as the oldest son of my parents, was trying to make sure that it was a big group, 10 of us. So, I was trying to make sure that everyone, well, 9 of us, now 10, then 10, but I was trying to make sure that all of our dinner reservations were taken care of, and we were all in the same place. We were all going to be at the same table, and that's when it happened. I wasn't trying to be well, maybe a little bit. I wasn't trying to be fancy.
Yeah, but
it is a cruise.
It is cruise, yeah.
And I remember his brother contacted me, and he's like, "Hey, just before you book this, we need to make sure that it's going to work out because all of our dinner reservations." And I told him, I was like, "Oh, I've already booked it." I was like, "Don't worry, I'll just go eat at the buffet or something." And he's like, "Oh my gosh!" So trying to work all that out, but then we've gone to Ireland and Scotland and England. We went to the British Open a couple years back in Scotland. So we've had some great trips in Ireland, and we travel a lot. I know a lot of your viewers and listeners will know a tenor by the name of Brian Griffin. And Brian, we've traveled with Brian a lot on those trips, and he's such a fun person to travel with. Brian's a tall guy. He can travel internationally with a bag that's the size of a fanny pack. And I'm like, what do you have in there? He's like,
no,
extra pair of pants.
It's a fanny pack,
4
but
pairs
there's
of
room.
Yeah.
There's room in there.
But there's room in there. Like,
he has to bring back souvenirs.
Yeah. No, I will say, Nathan and Brian Griffin and I have traveled a bunch at this point. And it's just a good mix because every trip, but I'm thinking specifically of our first time we went to Ireland. When you go on trips and you're there for a certain amount of time, you have like things you want to see, everyone's making plans of this and this, but Nathan and Brian are like, if something comes up, it's like, oh yeah, no, let's go do that. Like there's never, and we're all that way. It's like, there's a kind of a plan, but then if some drunk Irish guy walks down the street and invites you to breakfast the next day, sure.
That happened.
That did happen.
Yeah.
That did happen. Yeah, that did
Yeah.
happen.
We were singing out. It's in Kilkee, Ireland, and we were singing out in the front yard, drinking beer.
Two horses and a goat. We were singing to horses, a donkey, and a goat.
It's a crazy Airbnb you're at.
We were
Did Nathan pick that place? I'm just guessing.
Fancy.
Oh, okay,
no,
good.
I did actually.
Yeah,
I did.
But he picked the place, and then I picked the neighbors because this guy's walking down the street with this dog, and I'm like, "Hey, come on up for a beer," and he's like, "All right then." And
never met a stranger in his life, Nathan Carlisle.
No, and his dog Sadie, he went, "Sadie, you rogue!" If the dog was acting up, and I don't know if he invited us over for breakfast or maybe I invited us.
No, he invited us. He said,
"Okay."
He said, "Oh, you guys, you need to come over in the morning for a good Irish breakfast." And we said flat out, like, dude, you're talking to 2 Texans. Like, if you invite us to breakfast tomorrow morning, we are going to show up. Like, this is not like an idle deal. Like, if you invite us, we will show up. He was like, no, absolutely. I want you to be there. So, okay. So we got up. We were supposed to be there at like 9:00. We got up, just walked down the street. He lived at the end of the street. Knock on the door. No answer.
Bang on the door.
Bang on the door again. No answer. Bang, 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 bang on the door again. Here he comes. Same clothes he was in the night before. Hair all a mess. By the way, this guy is one of the nicest guys you've ever met in your whole life. But he goes, "Oh, come in. We'll have a chat." And you could tell he didn't even remember what happened the night before, but he was going to play it off. He was good.
Yeah.
And so we're sitting there. We get
and
there
we're
about
starving,
9:00.
by the way.
Oh,
starving.
Yeah. We get there at 9. He says, "Come on in, we'll have a chat." Oh, I don't know, sometime around 11:30. he says, "Oh, so what about breakfast?" And I'm like, "Yeah, man, that's." I mean, we're all sitting there like, "Yeah, that sounds great." Well, let's drive into town and we'll go to the market and we'll pick up some stuff. And I was like, "Wait, wait, you invited us. You invited us to breakfast, and we go into the store to get ingredients for breakfast, like to get stuff to eat." And it was like, yeah. So we ended up going to like 3 different stores because he was like, "Oh, the eggs are best here, and you got to go here for the bread, and you got to go here for the this." And the... Okay, but I will say,
y'all don't have Sam's Club here. What's that?
I will say, it is still the best Irish breakfast I've ever had.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It was by far the best breakfast I've had. Yeah, it was good.
But it turns out if you starve yourself for a number of hours, anything is going to taste.
It's the best seasoning, starvation.
Yeah, it really is.
The best seasoning there.
It was about a 5-hour breakfast all in, I think.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Sometimes things don't turn out the way they will, and sometimes I have, and it wasn't just my idea, but if things work out good with the Carlisle situation, it's good. But if it's bad, it's bad. And a perfect example of this, Mike and I, we did a Verdi Requiem in Bemidji, Minnesota. Bemidji, Minnesota.
Famous for the giant Paul Bunyan statue. That's
right.
The big claim to fame.
So, Scott, we're in the middle of this rehearsal.
Because we have huge careers. We were in Bemidji, Minnesota,
right.
doing the Verdi Requiem.
And the head of the orchestra guy, he comes up, he goes, "Hey, how would you like to come out to my boat? I'll take you guys out on the lake on my big boat." And he might have just said, "Would you like to go boating tomorrow?" But how I relayed that message to Mike is, "Hey man, this guy's got a yacht and we're gonna go out on the lake tomorrow. It's gonna be awesome." He's like, "Great." The next morning we are hungover.
I mean,
hungover city.
What?
Yeah.
What? You two?
Because it was an off day, we didn't have to rehearse or anything. So he wants us out there at like 8:45.
Well, that's the opera shuffle. I got a day off tomorrow, so tonight I can get it.
So we drive out to his house, and when we drive up to the house, it's a gorgeous place. He has 2 kayaks sitting out in the front yard. And I jokingly said, "Oh, we're not all 3 going to be able to fit in those 2." He goes, "No, I've got a 3rd kayak in the back." And we're like, "Are we going fucking?" Can I say that? I'm sorry.
You can cuss all you want. It's fine.
Going fucking kayaking today, and more than that, and he also, to go kayaking, he had some sort of pier that you had to put the slats down.
We had to build his dock. We had to build the dock before we could go out on boats.
Well, midway through building this dock, Mike sits down over there. I was like, "Mike, you all right?" And he's like, "I'm on bear watch." So hungover. I'm going to watch for bears just in case. You guys keep on. But that was the longest kayaking day of our lives.
We were at the headwaters of the Mississippi.
That's right.
And it's not, and where we, like, I thought, man, we're going to go out, sit on the boat, it'll be fine. I'm a little hungover, so I'll probably get, seasick or something, but I'll be fine. I have a couple of beers, little hair of the dog.
Oh.
I didn't realize it was going to be 4 hours of exercise.
I mean, that dude got a good deal. He got Verdi Requiem soloists and got a new dock for the price. For the one price. It was a good deal
for this guy.
He's a genius.
Is there kind of, with you two and your sort of posse, your Met posse,
Rat Pack?
The Rat Pack. It really does seem like the Rat Pack. Is there a sense of like competition? Like it's my idea for our next outing is going to be the craziest thing, and it's going to be the biggest, craziest, wildest thing. I mean, there's got to be some of that because I just know how you guys work.
Oh, see, I think it. We hope.
Yeah.
I hope. I set the bar pretty high, and every time we have a new milestone birthday, I'm like, man, come on, somebody beat it, because that's going to be awesome.
We need a new benchmark.
We need a new benchmark.
So we took a trip up to Montreal. I remember, and we were in his BMW. So
Nathan, be very careful. Be very careful what stories you tell about Montreal, because remember, that's an international trip, and I'm not sure exactly what the extradition policy is.
Right.
Yeah, so be very careful, please.
we're always scaring each other. Like, for example, we drive into Canada, and he's like, "Oh man, I hope we can get back." I'm like, "What do you mean?"
I had just bought my BMW literally like a week before, and it didn't have real plates on it. It had dealer, like the paper plate.
It was just a paper plate with some numbers.
I just wrote Scott's car.
Scott's car.
Put it in the window. Yeah, and so we got across the border, and it was the first time I kind of thought, like, when we crossed the border, I was like, man, I wonder if you have to have actual license plates to come back into the United States. Turns out you don't. You don't need it. I mean, you're good. Yeah, a paper plate with your name written on it totally suffices.
Yeah,
it's all good.
They're nice up there.
Yeah. Now, all the stuff we were smuggling in, that was dangerous. But
what do you smuggle into Canada? I don't know.
No. Back out.
Oh, yeah. Like all your prescriptions. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what happened in Montreal, boys?
There's a big Montreal Comedians Festival. Mm-hmm. And I got tickets. I don't know if you remember this, Scott. I was so excited. I got tickets to one of the shows, and I didn't realize the whole thing was in French. I was like, I'm like, man, these punchlines really aren't hitting home to me. And then, hey, another time, Mike, we were in.
I just have to see you guys sitting there in a French comic show, being like, ha ha ha, ho 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 ho.
As it's a comedy, Americans were like, what?
Yeah.
And then, so a couple summers ago, I had all the guys come down to my farm in Mississippi, but first we all met in Memphis. And Oppenbach came we went to Beale Street, stayed
Every one of these stories, Scott goes, ugh.
Oh, man.
Well, I'm just kind of nervous about what he's going to say. I mean.
It was, it was kind of raining outside, and I wanted to treat the guys to something interesting. Right across the street from the Peabody is the AAA baseball park where I don't know what Memphis, but I know they like, for example, when Michael Jordan played for
White Sox.
Yeah, the White Sox. Their team was out of Birmingham, I think.
A farm team.
I got to see a game at that park in Memphis because they were playing the Memphis team. And I can't remember what franchise Memphis team is from, but the cool thing is, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna get us all front row seats at this game, and so I bought them on StubHub. And there were only 4 tickets left. And so I was like, man, right behind the dugout. I'm so excited. So I get everyone together. We have a drink. We walk across the street, and the damn thing is closed. It's not even – they weren't even having a game that day. And so the person selling these tickets on StubHub was just some jackass trying to sell tickets to something that had already been canceled. And I was just sitting there, man. So when you're with Carlisle, when it's good, it's good. And when it's bad – it's the worst. Yeah.
Luckily, he slipped my ticket under my hotel room door, and I didn't wake up until all of that was over.
That's true.
Yeah.
At 4:30 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Close.
Pretty close. Yeah, I think so, yeah.
But when they came down to Mississippi, Mike, you're from Cut and Shoot, Texas, so I can describe this, and I think you can visualize it very easily.
I can hear the banjos being tuned as we speak.
Yes. Thank you.
Ding, 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 ding. Sorry.
On our property, there's an old house, and right behind that old house is a very thick bamboo, like real thick bamboo that you can't even see through. And down in this ravine is a house that no one knew that was there, and it's still standing, and you can walk.
Literally surrounded by that bamboo, so you can't see it.
Yeah, and what I do is I take people there at night, and it really freaks them out. I remember taking the guys there after a few drinks, and it was pretty creepy.
Did you take them snipe hunting?
Yeah,
while you were there.
Snipe hunting, no.
Yeah, that is one thing I will say is that we don't always, or maybe almost never, make the smartest decisions when we're together, which is surprising since we've lasted 22 years knowing each other. I don't know how we've done it really, but like that, like the house, right? So after a few drinks, he takes us into a bamboo. I don't know what you call it, a field,
Yeah.
a crop, or whatever.
Stand of
Um,
bamboo.
and but by the way, this is in Memphis. I'm not in Memphis. This is in Mississippi, and almost in the middle of nowhere. And so we're kind of weaving our way through these bamboo shoots, and then all of a sudden, there's this house that's literally being held up by the bamboo, mostly, mostly. And we decide, hey, yeah, let's go in. Let's go in it because nothing would be living in a house in the middle of a bamboo field, but we did go in, and it kind of looked like people were still living there. It was pretty creepy. Yeah, pretty creepy. Cool though.
Yeah.
But I mean, we're like walking around, like three grown humans, like walking around on floorboards that obviously need some TLC. I know it's not the smartest. We don't make the smartest decisions.
But
we're alive though.
It feels a little bit like every time you guys get together, you turn into like sixth graders. It's
pretty
like,
much.
Yeah, like you're
turn into what?
Sixth graders. Like sixth graders. Like
yeah, pretty much.
We're all gonna do boy stuff.
Yeah. I showed up.
Yeah.
It was Fashion Week in New York. This is when we were the first time we lived in this apartment, and Scott invited me to some bar, and it's part of Fashion Week. And I was like, oh, okay, so I'll get kind of fashioned up. So
this was with Anna, actually. Anna was there that night.
Anna was there that night. That's right.
Anna was there that night, yeah.
So I show up, and I don't know what pants or shirt I'm wearing, but I do know that my belt was I used a tie for my belt, like an actual necktie. But then for my hat, I had a colander, an antique colander with the little things pointing out. And I had it tilted a little, and it looked great.
At a rakish angle.
Yes, at a rakish angle. That's yes, absolutely. And I showed up. I just remember Scott looking at me going, oh my gosh. It was fashion.
I never did anything like that to Scott. I always.
Yeah, Mike, I mean, I don't know. We're talking a whole lot about Nathan and I tripping around, but if I do remember correctly, you and I have traveled together.
Oh yeah, we went to lots of churches.
Yeah, not that we need to get into those stories about how we kind of backpacked across Europe.
Did you almost get arrested in Amsterdam or in Rome or somewhere?
No.
What?
No, crazy. No, I didn't almost get deported, and Scott didn't just take me from my first international incident. No, didn't happen.
Yeah. No, that didn't happen.
Scott and I did backpack, which means we packed the biggest fucking suitcases that you've ever seen. And
my suitcase was
like 80 pounds.
I carried it on my back like that, like it was a backpack, but it was like one of those soft duffel bag, but it had wheels and everything. But it literally was, I had it on but it was above my head this much, and went down like past my knees in the back. So I'm literally walking around like I'm carrying a dead body.
Oh, I'm sorry, Scott,
walking around Europe. But,
are you trying to tell me Scott Scully packs too much? Too much clothing?
We both
don't
did.
Do it.
I mean, we were like 21, or 20.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we were super young and like didn't know anything about anything. And
still don't. But
remember when
we had an excuse then.
My wheels broke off in Rome, and I had to carry the fucking thing all over the place. God.
Yes, I remember buying ski suits.
Yeah,
and skiing down a mountain in Switzerland that I still don't think was a ski run. I still think we were just skiing down a mountain because at one point we were in like a neighborhood, like literally skiing, and there's like a house, and no one else is there, and I'm like, what? Did we go down the wrong side? Like, anyway, it was.
And I had never skied before in my life. So we decided that we'd go ski.
It didn't show.
Switzerland is a great place to just get your bearings.
Yeah,
it didn't show.
Start out skiing.
Yeah, well, when we got the ticket, the lift tickets and everything, they came. We actually when we planned to do this to go skiing. I always wanted to go skiing, and so we went to Bern, right? Or Bern or Interlaken, one of those. I can't remember where we were, but we went to
Interlaken.
Yeah, Interlaken. And we went to the outlet store in Italy when we were in Castelfranco and bought these like ridiculous snows. Mine was, I still have it. It's bright red, just like
mine was yellow, black, and
black
like
and
the
yellow.
whole top of it was yellow. I looked like the biggest bumblebee you've ever seen in your life. I was like coming at you.
When we bought the lift tickets, they were like, these come with a lesson. I was like, oh, perfect, because I don't know what the hell I'm doing. So we take, when you go skiing there, you have to go up like you take a bus or taxi to a bus to a lift, that a giant like car, like train car on a cable, and it takes you up to the Jungfraujoch, which is where we were skiing. And we got out and we're like, where's the lessons? And they were like, what are you talking about? So Scott skis. I go watch the little kids going through ski school, and that's how I learned to ski, by watching the children and then going behind them, like okay, I'm doing what they're doing. And I think you blew your knee up like the first day, right, Scott?
Oh yeah, big time.
Just right. For the rest
and
of the trip,
way,
we had to limp around.
That doesn't hurt anymore when I'm 45. That doesn't still hurt.
That was when we met those two Australian chicks. And chicks.
Yes.
I'm literally 20 years old again. The chicks.
Actually, we were in Interlaken because we spent New Year's Eve at that hostel in Interlaken, and
we almost got into the fight with some Australians.
We did. We were outnumbered, and so I remember at one point they kept screaming at us. Aussie, 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 oi, 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 over and over again, right? And it was like the countdown to New Year's Eve, and we had all had plenty to drink and whatever. And at one point, I remember getting on a table and singing "Country Roads" in like this awful Australian accent. I mean, it was terrible.
Country roads.
Yeah.
Take me out. What's going on?
I just remember looking around like, man, this was a dumb idea. What am I doing?
Australians like to fight. What are we doing?
It was not smart.
I've never, when we were hanging out, I've never gotten up and stood on something and sung at a public place ever. I don't ever do that.
You're always very hesitant.
Nathan, this is a Hooters, for God's sakes, man.
Well, I won't say where we were, but I did sing. I came up. And I remember my pants were down around my ankles, just as a like a joke, like a shock factor. And then I was like, oh, I'm at the wrong wedding. I was at the wrong, no, it wasn't a wedding. But
shouldn't do this at a
I
funeral,
walked in the room and I was singing, and I didn't know what the aria was at the time. I just knew it was like, so I was trying to sing Vessi la Giubba, but instead of singing Ridi, I was like, Bibi Pagliacci. And then one of the guys was like, Bibi. So
yeah. Is this song about the Israeli Prime Minister? What's going on?
A lot of our trips we go on, my nickname is Bibi. From that incident. Yeah.
Bibi,
I like to have a few drinks and sing. I sang at the Grand Havana Room last night.
We can tell the story about how we were in New Orleans at the Dueling Piano Bar, and you were very interested in these two young ladies that were at the bar, and decided to go up and tell the guy playing the piano that you wanted to sing an opera aria. And I believe you picked La Donna Immobile. I believe that's what it was. No.
Oh,
yes, that's what it was.
That's a good one to sing to the ladies.
That's what it was.
Fickle women.
And yeah, that's what it was. And so you went and told the guy, my friend and I both sing at the Metropolitan Opera, and we'd like to sing this thing. And so we pull me up, and we're singing together. And the guy has started the aria at least a third high, at least. He's playing it like from memory, because the guy had I forget what his connection was. He knew somebody. Oh, Jeffrey Wells. He knew Jeffrey Wells. That's what.
Brother Jeffrey Wells.
Brother Jeff.
Hallelujah.
And so he's playing it, and it's like a third, and I was like, oh damn, this this is really going to be bad. And I keep looking
south.
over at Nathan like, does he realize, you know? And so he did realize, because Nathan went and sat down. Went over to where the girls were and sat down, and I'm literally on stage with this guy playing Lada, and I vaguely remember feeling like my chords were being stripped apart.
Was it a high E or something? What was it?
Well, don't worry about it. It never happened because I remember very specifically going, Eddie Pensio. That's all that came out. That's all that came out. Eddie Pensio. And
I think it was Pensio.
And then like, everyone in the place is like, what is that? Just to kind of show the spontaneity of our group, Nathan and I drove. You flew.
Mm-hmm.
I drove from Dallas to Denver, and it was awesome. I mean, it was great. And then Nathan and I hang out in Denver, and a friend of his place went to this great art festival, and blah, blah, and we're like, we'll go down to Aspen. And so we get on the phone one night. We're in Denver drinking, we get on the phone one night with Brian Griffin, and we're like, hey, man, we're going to go to Aspen.
What are you doing tomorrow?
What are you doing tomorrow? And he's in New York, by the way. And like, what are you doing? He's like, right now I'm looking up flights to Denver. And we're like, what? What are you doing? Sure enough, he flew into Denver that next morning.
Yeah.
And we picked him up at the airport and then drove to Aspen, over Independence Pass, which to this day still I don't really know exactly how I did that. I mean, I tried not to look to the side at all. Oh, it's just, and then you just start thinking like, well, I mean, one little,
At least it's pretty where I'm going to die. It's gorgeous.
I know there's that one, you've done it, right?
Yeah.
There's that one spot where you only one car literally can go around the corner. So if you meet someone, one of you has to back up. It's like, okay, well, I'm not. So good luck.
This BMW doesn't have 4-wheel drive. I'm going for it.
No, it didn't have a backup cam either.
Oh, gosh.
That's the other thing. Yeah. No chance. No chance. No chance. Yeah. But that usually happens. Usually Nathan will plan a trip and Griffin will kind of, I'm going to go. Yeah, I'm going to go. Yeah, I'm going to go. And then like just one night he's like, oh, I booked all my flights. You're like,
right.
What? Sometimes they're right. Sometimes they're to the right city. Sometimes they're,
but
they're not.
I've flown with Brian and on the way to one of our trips to Vegas, he does not like to fly. And just imagine someone being in their,
I love this.
in their chair. All right. I'm like, this is kind of like a first class chair, except we weren't in first class. And he had ordered a drink, like a orange juice and vodka or something. And then I had placed my drink on his tray for 2 seconds because I'm fiddling with my laptop. The woman comes by and says, sir, you need to finish your drinks and put your tray in the upright position. He like wakes up, looks at her and takes the tray and goes like this. And just those 2 drinks just crash down and spill everywhere. And he's just like,
oh man,
he's like a bull in a china shop. I love that guy so much. And I just had him at my house in Mississippi, and he's like, I'll do the dishes. And the next thing I hear is, he dropped some antique bowl. I'm like, don't worry, man. I'll take care of it.
It was my grandmother's. It's fine. No, it's totally fine. No big deal.
It's traveling with him has been so much fun. But it's always unpredictable. Like when we flew to Dublin one time, we're all flying out of this. Scott, you and I flew out of JFK.
Yeah, he didn't want to fly out of JFK, so he booked a different flight than we did and flew out of Newark.
And we're sitting in a first class
lounge.
Aer Lingus lounge, and we're like, I'm telling him like, man, this is great. He's like, dude, I'm sitting on the plane. We're delayed 6 hours. It's so hot. And I was like, I'm about to take a shower at the first class lounge.
You did take a shower.
I did.
Actually, another funny thing about that story is we're sitting in this Aer Lingus lounge, right? And Nathan's like, because he's always like wants to use every amenity. If it is included in something, he's gonna do it, right? So the
God help
guys,
them when they have free booze. It's like, okay.
oh yeah, well they do, yeah. So we're sitting there, and the guy comes up and Nathan's like, oh, these guys are like, well, we have showers here if you want to take a shower. And Nathan's like, oh yeah, absolutely, I'm gonna go take a shower. So Nathan goes into the shower, and then after Nathan goes into the shower, the same waiter comes over to me. I'm just sitting at the table with my drink or whatever we've got, and he comes over to me and he kind of gives me this weird look, and he was like, he's in the shower if you want to.
Yeah.
and I was like, I wasn't paying any. I mean, it didn't even register. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, oh my God, this guy, he thinks that we. Oh, okay. I mean,
Sure.
So I did. No.
So we're in the shower together, right? And it's like crazy.
Okay. Fast forward 30 minutes. I'm
30
soaping
minutes.
up my hair.
Well done.
Yeah.
I love my favorite thing about flying, and is going to all the lounges. Like, I don't ever want to sit at an airport if it's not in, like a nice, comfortable lounge with big chairs and free booze. And
you don't want to sit with the proletariat. I mean, come on.
Exactly. Look, I'm in the Metropolitan Opera Chorus. I play the role of publican or the role of the rabble every day. So when I'm at the airport among the people, I like to sit with the fancy people. You know what I mean?
I'm not at work, okay?
Yeah.
Not amongst the unwashed.
I'm like, I'm up here.
Holy shit, guys.
Oh, man.
Well, man, I haven't laughed like this in a long time. I have to tell you, it's tough to, like, we're all in the middle of this nonsense, crazy crisis, and it seems like every day is just bad news. But being able to sit with you guys and just laugh and talk about old times is so great.
Yeah. When are you going to start? When are you going to start recording the interview thing?
Yeah.
Well, on there.
Well,
all hour and a half of it so far.
I want to go change.
Yeah. For part 2. Costume change for part 2.
Yeah.
But I really do hope
this is later. This is later in the spring, and I have a cough. Oh my God.
Well, I hope that we do get to do something like some of your hangover-esque adventures.
Well, let's just say right now, when COVID is over and we're allowed to go, well, I am outside, so I can't say outside. When we're allowed to go places again and do things, we will definitely do that.
SpaceX. We're going to space, boys.
Let's do it.
Yeah,
Hangover in space.
My brother has a Tesla. I'm sure that gets you on somehow.
Yeah, you get. I think you're on a list.
You on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm definitely on a list.
Yeah. And when we do, I think
I'm on a lot of lists.
I think you guys need to do it. I mean, at least in one of these. And if I'm there or not, the next time you guys do this, you need to just take a videographer with you and go ahead and just shoot an episode.
Definitely.
Of your lives.
No.
Well, you can have editorial control.
No, dude. No, that's like when you watch those television shows about the dumbest criminals, and they're like filming themselves rob somebody, and then they get caught because they were filming themselves. Like that's exactly what that would be. Like, why did you film yourself doing that?
He's not. He's not a videographer. He's a witness.
Exactly. Yeah.
What happens in space stays in space. Okay, guys.
That's right.
It's the hardest part was getting the vodka into those little sippy cup things, but.
It's not bad, actually. You make it into a gel, and you can just squirt it in. Not that I've thought about it.
Not that I'm already making plans, but it's
not
gonna
that
have
I'm making. Yeah,
we're gonna have a bar in space. Okay.
I mean, the moon may be the next place that you have to go to get away from COVID. Just little moon colonies.
Well, guys, I want to thank you so much for coming on. It's so good to talk to y'all. And
yeah, brother, this was fun.
It's awesome, and I know that there's so many folks out there that just like these 3 guys. Oh my God! So we'll probably get a lot of hits on this one.
What's funny? I think that will probably happen, and the opposite will also happen. Someone will see Mike Mays, Scott Scully, and Nathan. No, I'm not even
I'm
turning
out.
that on.
No,
I'm out.
Don't even want to know.
I can play golf with you, Scott, because you know what a great golfer I am.
Oh God.
It literally is
I
like
am
taking
kind of-
your life in your hands when you play golf with me, because you just never know where the ball's going to go. Behind you, anywhere.
Yeah. You can kind of picture it if you remember the Beverly Hillbillies. If you think about Jethro going to play golf one day, that might be.
Yeah.
That's kind of what it was like. A little bit.
Are those bamboo golf clubs? What's going on?
Is that a rope as a belt that you're using right now? Is that a rope?
I don't think that's in the dress code.
No,
All
no.
right, boys. Well,
Take
That's
care.
it.
And tell,
Awesome, brother.
tell your lovely wife we say hello.
we'll do.
All right.
Yeah, man. Do y'all have a show tonight?
She does. The hurricane came through and
Yeah, no, I
blew our
saw that.
tent all to shit. So they're working all day trying to get that fixed. So
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
That's cool. I mean, not that's cool, but I mean, the show looks cool.
yeah, it's pretty
I
wicked.
mean, from the stuff I've seen, yeah, that looks pretty awesome.
I mean, it's
Tell Tomor I
challenging,
said hi.
We'll do, man. We'll do.
Absolutely.
All right, boys.
Awesome, brother.
We'll see y'all.
Take care, guys.
Take it easy, man.